signal back there. Okay, thank you. I'll call this meeting to order. It is the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board, commonly known as BORCAB. It is August 24th, 2021 at 9 a.m. and our meeting is called to order. Would you all please rise for our pledge to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Do we have any notice of anybody that's going to be absent?
Karen Woodson, Dan Allers, and Bruce Butcher have an excused.
Pardon?
They have an excused absence.
Who does?
Karen Woodson, Bruce Butcher, and
Dan Allers.
Dan Allers.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have an excuse for Bruce, for Karen, and of course for the liaison. Okay, I would ask for an approval of the minutes of our May 4th, 2021 meeting.
I send Barbara Hill.
Barbara, do we have a second?
Second.
Becky? And a second by Becky. Is there any discussion? Not? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, well, we can move right on to our Lee County School Board Interlocal Agreement update. And how long have we been waiting for this?
Do you want to?
Sure. Chelsea O'Reilly, Public Works Director for the town of Fort Myers Beach. Good morning.
Good morning, Chelsea. Thank you.
Problem. So it has been a long time coming. We are very, very close to finishing this up. We're crossing our T's, dotting our I's. We're going back and forth with the school district's attorney. From what last communication I had from them is they want to complete all of the documents, get back as a complete package to their board for one final approval. So right now we're working on the title commitment, which we should be nearing any day now. Executing the quitclaim deeds that the town has to do for the vacation of the rights of way. The county has to execute a quitclaim deed and a warranty deed. And both then once all of those are executed, they get recorded at the clerk of courts and it becomes official. So that's where we're at. On our end, every council has approved everything, given the authorization for town staff or the town attorney to make this happen. So we are, and one thing too with that, once that ink has dried and it is a fully executed document, we have a time frame to complete the school board's improvements. So considering the school lets out in the summer and winter break and spring break are really our only times to do those improvements. That kind of limits us, so we're trying to play with that time frame in the back of our minds as these documents get executed. We're almost there.
Good. Yes.
Can we proceed, given the fact that we're almost there? Can we proceed with the project from our end in terms of the planning and the design phases?
That has occurred, yes, and that's why we've received the 60% design. It is the intent to do the school district stuff first, then the front parcel, and then to try to do the athletic field and then the building because of the time constraints. And parcel, there's not as much to do there as it is the building and the field shifting. So if we can, pick at this piece by piece, we can try to accomplish it pretty quickly.
School board improvements that have been dictated by the school board that the town is responsible for, does that increase our budget in any way in terms of how we were approaching this project?
So the school board didn't necessarily dictate those improvements. We worked collaboratively with them. to those improvements. Town has a set budget. Of course, if we can drum up some additional sponsorships and opportunities for donations to help offset some of those costs or bring even better improvements to the school board stuff, that's definitely an opportunity. But overall, the budget has been set, and we have a set amount that we have to work within.
That's sort of anticipated when we were looking at the budget to begin with.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's no surprises there, in other words. Okay, great, thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for, when I saw all this paperwork, I thought, oh boy, good.
We're moving.
We are moving, proceeding.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that is so important, and makes me smile just to see paperwork going, because it's been a long time. Okay. Any other comments? Anybody? Well, then we can move on. Redevelopment plan update.
I will let Chelsea also spearhead this as well as myself. You all had been distributed, there was a lot in the packet. If you are curious about the entire packet, I'll be glad to send you an invite on Dropbox, but it is about, I don't know how many pages. But these were the ones that had the site plan views and the buildings and the things that I knew that you all would want to review. If you need any additional information, just let me know and I'll get it to you. But we are here to open up for comments, and then Chelsea is here as well to help field some of those questions that you may have. Now, this is just a draft of the 60% design. It's just a draft.
So, and I'll dovetail with that. As staff perspective, we're still reviewing this plan set. 60% design, our next two milestones would be 90% and 100%. When you get to that 90% design, you're not moving major walls, you're not shifting fields, you're not changing boundaries, you're fine-tuning the plan set. Because any change from 90% is typically when you submit for permits. So this phase where we are right here, if there are major edits to be made, it is right now. I will tell you from a broad, bigger picture, one thing that we've had to look at, especially with today's market, is we've had to, in receiving, and the demand is high, supply chain issues, we may need to look at picking pieces of this and planning for a future phase. For example, I think in the original 30% plan set, there was a note for a maintenance shed in the back of the property. That's going to have to be pushed to a future phase just because of where the project cost is estimated right now and the market. We don't want to plan for something that could never be built just simply because of pricing. So as you look at this, please keep in mind things that maybe we may be able to push off into the next phase. Just because we want to see this project get built and we don't want to set it up for failure. So, like I said, this is 60% design. We're moving, once we're gathering everybody's comments with BORCAB, with staff, with our building official, Allison, her staff, everybody's providing comments. We'll submit those to the engineer. They'll have time to review, make the edits, and get a final 60% submittal back to us. Kind of where we're at right now.
I do have a question about soccer fields and placement. Is that a discussion for right now, or is that later on in the meeting?
This meeting.
My questions.
You can ask.
Well,
Certainly.
the question I'm having is, I know right now at Bay Oaks, our soccer fields are in the baseball fields, and we bring out the goals and set them up whenever we need them, that there's nothing permanent there. So anybody who uses them when we're not out there having practice or somebody's out there moving goals, it's impossible. There are no soccer fields. So I was wondering if it was possible to put something that was more permanent in here, if there was space for that. Because I know reading the school board, they're going to have, when we talk about shared use. One of them is the soccer field.
Yes.
There really isn't a soccer field for anybody. You know, every time we go out there for practice, we're pulling out the goals, and there's not enough, you know, which is a different issue, I'm sure, getting more goals. But, you know, sharing baseball and soccer every single time doesn't always work out. And if, you know, we talked at our last meeting, possibly having adult soccer. I mean, I don't know how that's even possible if we don't have fields. I don't know.
Chelsea, I'm just gonna reminisce with her, it's been a while. We had originally, this was before the school board shifted. So something that happened, I think I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, the delay was that they wanted a little more land on the school board side. So we had to shift everything. We originally, for that 30%, had put a regulation soccer field within the ball field, but I'm not sure that that's what has happened now because of that shift of the land, which was why there was a little bit of a delay in that interlocal. So is that correct, Chelsea?
So how it's proposed right now with the 60% design is similar to today, where the goals would have to be moved out at the request of either soccer or bingo coming in. One thought that just crossed my mind, and I'm thinking out loud here, where on this page here, it says proposed future building.
I was looking at that as well.
The intent of that area was to keep it grass. Maybe that's it might not fit an adult league, but it may be for a smaller youth league. I'd have to rely on the professional over there and tell me what different sizes of soccer fields are. But as of right now, it's planned that the soccer field would be within the larger baseball field, as it is today.
I mean, I don't know the regulations, and I just know it's quite inconvenient when anybody we can't go practice. Go out to Kelly Road, which is, the whole point is to keep people here if possible, you know.
But I thought that's what we set up the goals were for practice. Is there a league that's unable? Because we have soccer goals out there now, and it started yesterday, right?
We haven't done, I've got to get the form notarized, so.
But we do have soccer practice on the field.
We do. Usually we have to bring the goals, move them around and figure out where they go, and then they have to be moved when baseball happens, and it's not anything that's permanently there.
Right,
If anybody wants to go practice on their own
you're
or whatever,
absolutely
you know.
right. Yeah, we do have to move those out, yeah.
Just wonder if it was possible to have anything permanent.
Well, and I think early on, when we were conceptualizing this larger project, the intent for that open field, which is where the ball fields were, was that was going to be multi-use, so that, yes, it would be for soccer, it would be baseball, and also it would be for events, if concerts. So then everybody's, cheese would be moved to accommodate, that event, and then everything would be back. But the idea that we would then have that flexibility to do a variety of things on that property, because we didn't really have that much to deal with.
That's the thing, yeah.
It's not a perfect plan for anyone. It's not a dedicated event space. It's not a dedicated regulation soccer field. Unfortunately, it would be wonderful if it was. But the reality is the school board and the actual limits of the property won't allow for it.
Right. I'm looking at the paper. I'm like, where do you even fit anything? Obviously, which is the whole point we're here. So.
Exactly.
It was a huge challenge, and I think given the fact that we've lost a little property through the school board action is a new reality that we had to deal with.
And maybe a comment from this committee, if there's consensus, is to look at any locations for a potential permanent soccer goal, or if it's only one, if you're trying to practice, parents coming down outside of the league, they just want to come, shoot, and that's something we can look at specifically in that proposed future building area. That's going to be grass.
Do you think that one would help? Your own soccer? I don't know. You would obviously know better than.
I mean, that area, I have no idea what the dimensions of that area are, but if you had something, there would be people that would come down and use it.
So, Beth, tell me right now, practice is when to when and a couple of days a week. Can you give me a schedule of how often it's used?
Typically, it depends on how many teams end up practicing down here. So right now, the ones that will, from what I've been told, will probably be Monday and Wednesdays. Just to say 6 to 8. It's not, for those teams, I mean, that's because with Fort Myers Beach Soccer, even though that's our name, we draw kids from all over. So it's not just players from the beach, because we don't have enough.
Right.
We have players, we even have players that come from North Fort Myers and Lehigh to play with us.
It's like Little League, it changes a little bit every year with numbers and there. And that starts, usually starts in September,
Nope, it usually starts already.
August, through when? Through November?
Through,
Around Thanksgiving, right?
the regular season ends around Thanksgiving. The kids that are a little bit older will go through the middle of December.
December, okay.
I know, like, the girls last year, like, one of the reasons they were, in addition to having kids, you know, more than half the kids sometimes are off island, would have to go practice at Kelly Road because they didn't have the space to practice. Then they go out for a game on Saturday and they have this huge field and nobody had practiced, so they weren't even practicing here. It's because we didn't have the ability to, you know.
Line a field to where they could actually, because at Kelly, we actually have fields lined. For
So staff has told me they've moved the goals and they're gonna be lining the field. So if you all run into things like that, let me know and I can have my staff help out.
Called Jim this morning and he was painting the lines.
So we really want to make sure that communication is strong. If there's anything we can do for staff, let's do it and get them out there so they can practice.
There should be goals, because I gave the town extra
Got some
goals.
goals. Yes,
couple
the
years
goals
ago.
are already on the field and they have been for a little while in anticipation.
Yeah.
We can look at an area for a permanent.
Thank you.
If we have an idea of what those dimensions are, that would be helpful. Kind
Is
of
there-
estimated dimensions for that proposed future building site.
There consensus on that?
Do we have
Yes, that
consensus?
seems reasonable.
Pardon?
Seems reasonable.
I would think so, yes.
Can you tell me what changed, between the 30% and beyond the shifting of the ball fields?
Majority of the change is architecturally in the interior of the building. Once that everything stops moving, and we can really start to focus on the interior of like the building, and like we knew the front parcel wasn't going to change. The parking lot, we're trying to fine tune and get as many parking spots as possible, but we were waiting for that shift to finally stop. But the majority of it, honestly, is the interior of the building.
Majority of the changes in the,
Yes,
Okay.
walls, things like that. Valued engineering for the bathrooms, things like that, where it's wisest to, having bathrooms abut each other, the men's and women's, things like that. Cleaning up some of the walls, access points, elevator shaft, things like more architectural for the actual proposed community.
can you give me a ballpark of between the difference of the existing community building and the square footage and the existing interior of the new building?
So you're talking the rec center current
Right, yeah.
to the proposed community building?
Right.
I'd have to get back to you.
Just wanted to, because it looked to me like, that is not it doesn't look like we're doubling our square.
Okay.
Of course, obviously, the gym right now is just a one-story where, stories.
Well, and you have completely different uses in those two different buildings.
Sorry?
You have different uses.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
okay.
I see where there's an existing exterior basketball court.
Yes, that is existing today.
Okay, and so will that stay then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Plan would that to be resurfaced. And again, that is one thing that could be pushed to a future phase.
Stay. I like the parking traffic movement between the activities. I think that was nicely laid out. like the roundabout. I think we had a roundabout, but I think it's been shifted a bit.
With the school, yes, everything got moved a little bit.
You're talking about the exterior of the building, architecturally, is there any really big change with that? I'm trying to find
believe the last
actual page where that is.
I believe the last, I don't know that it's in here.
We've got these, Chelsea, the,
Elevations back
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah, the elevations. That's what I'm really trying to, that must be at the very end.
the building
It's towards the end.
elevations, and then the building sections at it's A301.
201, okay.
So those are elevations, but you can see some of the, did they give a detailed of that, Chelsea, for the architectural?
No, but this is mirror, I believe this committee is the one who brought it up, was that the library have similar characteristics of the current library, and that's how this is laid out. But if you can, like on A201, if you look at that middle one, kind of towards the left-hand side, you see like the square wires. And if you look at the current library, you can see through it, but it's also protected.
I thought the library building was very well done. Will ours be the same height? Excuse me.
I can get you a water.
No, that's okay. Are we at the same height as the library is?
I'd have to follow back with you on that one.
I see the curved roof line on the event side, if you will, on the back side, which I think is very attractive. Top elevation on page 201.
Mm-hmm.
The roof line. At the top. Page 201.
Right.
This curved part here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really sort of our answer to the amphitheater.
Yes. When I saw that curve, I thought, ooh,
Yeah.
there it is.
I thought that was nice if that could have been
Yes.
carried over to the front building. There was some discussion about a rooftop floor for events. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I certainly do.
It was a budget constraint, though.
Okay.
That was, yeah, that,
It's no longer on the table.
You have a
yes.
lot of mechanical items that are going to be going up there. Your
The
AC
roof.
units, the elevator shaft is going up there, access to that, potentially a generator. So those types of things.
Sorry, that was early on and didn't make the,
Good idea.
It was a wonderful idea.
Picture yourself up there, right?
It's like the Sidney and Byrne Davis Art Center now. They have their rooftop open and operational,
Yes,
and
yeah.
a lot of events and parties that are happening up there.
Oh, yes.
It's been a long time coming, but they actually did make it happen.
See, I have a question for you. Do you mind just laying it all out as far as like the uses for the building? Because you said they were obviously very different uses, the existing community building and the new one.
take that
Can you
one.
tell me? Okay, just tell me kind of what's going on in each one so I can write it down.
And before she dives into that, the uses are derived from current programming and meeting those needs, and then some kind of big picture future programming. Is that right?
So the strategic plan that we had, many vignettes and meetings that we had, we also had the group meeting, that was before you came on, Becky, and I think Holly, you. So a lot of different stakeholder meetings, and just in general, we have an email that people can send. So it was a lot of different data collection over time. The main thing was to be able to meet the programming that we cannot currently meet at our site right now, and then try to get the future in there. So that was how it was collected. I have to look back, but I know in our early BORCAB meetings, I put all that out, so even the council members and everybody could see all the data that was collected and where we got it and how we collected it. So if you want to look at A102, I think that's the best. This is the A102, it's the upper level floor plan.
102?
Okay.
102.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a huge multi-purpose room in the middle there that can hold bridge. It can hold up to, I think, 200 to 250 people. Chelsea, was that the goal?
I think we brought that down a little bit.
Maybe 150 to
Yeah,
200?
yeah.
Between A and B, is there a wall there, or that's?
Can be.
it
These are
can
going to be
okay.
able, so the whole point of, just like Chelsea talking about the multi-purpose fields, the whole point of the exercise in the interior is to constantly have it be able to cater to whatever event you want.
Right.
So, you know, you've been in those really nice hotels that have the conference rooms that have the sliders that you can either open up or close up. That would be the same as this multi-purpose room A and B, as well as multi-purpose room D and C. So we wanted to be able to have as much flexibility to be able to create those spaces as we could in order to maximize our services for the community. So we do have on one side, which would be multi-purpose E, that would be for passive recreation such as yoga, things that want quiet time, that don't want to be right up on the other side of the wing, where multi-purpose F could be for the after-school program.
Okay.
We also have a room D that could be the teen room if we wanted, but we tried to kind of gear all the youth activities to one side. The multi-purpose room F has the sink and the restroom. That's really convenient for the kids to be able to use the restroom while they're having that program.
Sure, yes.
So we tried to think of things like that we don't have now, that for the safety and just for the efficiency of our programming. The multi-purpose room E, I mentioned before, would be something that could change out for yoga or Pilates, something that was, or maybe a small game room if somebody wants to have that. But the multi-purpose room D and C would be for any other events that we want. Say we have somebody, a movie or a lecture or something, we could open those up and be able to fit more people in, or maybe there's a luncheon, like we have our senior luncheon in December. We're not, or actually it's on Thanksgiving. We're not able to hold that at our facility because we don't have the facility needs to support that. So we could easily do that in multi-purpose room B. So a lot of the needs of the community with time that you don't, not in the senior room now with the roll top door down and basketball going on over there.
Right.
Trying to be able to provide the services that we have heard from our community, and also our programming that we have to have off-site because we can't support as far as space.
Okay.
It's a pretty good size, 2,700 square feet or so between the two. That one, just A and B.
You know, there is nowhere on the island, I don't think, that has this type of space. And so it would be really great to be able to support that for our community, for, to share, to collaborate, and to also support programs that to support it.
And then what's staying in the community building that's there now, the existing? Is that still the indoor basketball courts and?
We would use it, yes. So the weight room, we would still have our weight room and our cardio room and our basketball courts. We could have something in that senior room. Like right now we have aerobics because the classes are small. And we do that in the summertime when the classes are small. So we would still use that for the active recreation facility.
Excuse me. Allison, are you saying that the existing weight room that we have now in the current building will stay there?
Yes, remember, this is a phased project.
Exactly.
We are going to be operating in two separate until the other phase for the gymnasium and the active recreation building to be built. So that was the little footprint that Becky was asking about. We make sure we held that placeholder for that future, but until the phases are, we would still operate out of the gym, and then we would have our community building.
So the passive recreation is basically what the building is about.
Yes, yes. That is the community building, yes. If
Right.
there's not gonna be a weight room in this building and people aren't gonna be doing spin classes or have bicycles in the multipurpose room, doing spin class, that would be in the gym.
All these walls are pretty much movable.
Yes, Betty, that was
In
the
order to be
point,
able
yes. To be able to hold whatever size, class or event that we have.
Right.
We have one tiny room now that does not support our BOSS program at all, so.
Exactly.
So if you look at dead center on this plan set, you see this utility room, and right
On
above that
what
you
page
see,
are we talking?
same page, A102.
Okay.
And if you see the right dead center, you see utility room, and then above it, it's like a square, and it kind of has little lines in it.
Yeah.
That's that folding wall. Like at Waxahachie,
Oh,
Yes.
I see.
it hides into
Okay.
that little space. And then if you look up at multipurpose C and multipurpose D, it has that same folding wall. So we can close off those spaces, or we can open them if there's a
Open 'em
larger
up.
event.
Where did we put the kitchen?
Utility.
Okay, right. Yes, that's our kitchen, our catering kitchen. Yeah, thank you, Chelsea.
With regard to excuse me, administrative staff, spaces, you're going to continue to keep, like, the community pool offices where they are.
Yes,
You're
Barbara.
gonna continue to keep the gym offices where they are. And this office here is basically for passive, activities. And do you feel that those two rooms are adequate for
I
administration?
do, yes. We did a comparison, actually. Yes, we talked very long about that. It is. The team is so small and it's really efficient for them to work together. So when you start separating some of your team, they don't need offices all, they each of them do not need an individual office to close the door. They're constantly brainstorming programs and ideas, and in general, love the open space that we have now. So I wanted to make sure that they had that opportunity. They do have an office there that has a door that can close, that they can have meetings if they want to, but in general, having that open space, and then also being able to greet the visitor or the patrons that come in, or our members. You see a little circular desk. It's really easy and efficient. We don't have designated space, it's if you're at your desk working and you can say hello to somebody and assist them at the same time.
Okay, that was my concern, because I think a lot of times we get so zeroed in on providing for the community and then not allowing for adequate space for staff and equipment.
Exactly.
Staff to be able to operate these programs, so, and that semicircle desk is actually the reception desk.
It is. And then we'll also have workstations. We have that now at Bay Oaks. There's a computer there for somebody who is at the desk to be able to work on their work, but then to greet the visitor or member that comes in. So I think it's really important to always have a face, say hello, and to assist. If maybe you don't need any assistance, but to welcome people into the building. So it will have a multi-purpose as well, Barbara.
You'll notice there are a handful of storage rooms on here. That is a
Yes.
major issue at the rec center right now. As
Yep.
you know, we have 3, 4, 5 sheds
In the back.
in the back that
makes it
we
difficult.
can't work with that. So you'll notice that there are ample storage spaces to hold the programming needs. If it's yoga mats, if it's a medicine ball, if they're doing little things like that, chairs, tables. Those are things that we definitely need.
Right, and in the multi-purpose room F, to make sure we have closets and things for the craft supplies for the programs.
And I think, I don't know if that formula still stands, but I do recall years ago that, if you were looking at planning a building, that fully 1/3 of the square footage needs to be
Storage.
dedicated to storage, offices, stairways, bathrooms. So, when you factor in, that is actually important square footage, as important as the actual rooms to provide the programming. I'm wondering if that formula still stands. It looks like it does from what I've seen here.
You never want to have a building and not have enough restrooms. We've all been there to programs where they don't adequately have enough women's restrooms.
Exactly.
Oh,
And you think, who's designing this?
how did we get along with that?
It's just restrooms over on the one side.
Yeah, there's actually one over by the multi-purpose room
Right, just
F.
one.
I
Are
like
there
And then we've
restrooms on the
got
first
some
floor?
downstairs.
Are the restrooms also on the first floor?
I think there, wasn't there?
Yes, there are. I
Yes.
noticed the restrooms on the first floor.
Yes.
There are, but we may just put the plumbing in for now because of the cost associated to that.
Where would all of the people that are outside go to the restroom then, if they're at the ball field or?
As of right now, at the existing bathrooms that are staying.
So they're staying, and is the Little League concession stand
It is
building
not
staying?
moving as of right now.
Okay.
We're not
Hey,
moving.
so
the-
if you think of the rec center and there's the drive that goes back and kind of does the hook,
Right?
that drive is kind of our dividing line. So everything on the right side, where the big field is now, is really where all of the major improvements are going to occur.
For this phase,
For this
right.
phase,
And-
right now. So then on the left-hand side of that drive, so where you have the rec center, the small ball field, we're not touching those things right now. That would be a future phase.
Wow.
Okay.
But on this plan set, the bathrooms are in there, looking at costs, and again, trying to get this within a reasonable budget. We are looking at maybe just putting in the plumbing to where we could do that in a future. But it's definitely a need, and we know that, we have to accommodate that for if there are larger events with, the amphitheater or, baseball game, soccer game.
Are they, now the pool restrooms also then are available during those times?
Yes.
If it's open, yeah.
Yes. We'll make sure they are, because that is something that restrooms, you always need to have restrooms.
So none of those improvements will be made then to the actual pool area at all, because that is, again, on the left-hand side?
The pool
there's-
is not as part of this right now.
Correct, so everything will stand, we'll do general maintenance, but we won't be bulldozed down and rebuilt.
Right. Originally, that was part of the plan.
It was originally, right, Barbara, it was, and before the shift with everything, with the land and the interlocal, that really changed a lot, because we have such limited.
For the multipurpose general room in the center of the building, what is the capacity of this?
We'll have to double check, we were looking at 150 to 250, and I don't know where it ended up.
Not to,
For A and B?
50 to 200 maximum capacity. How does that compare to what's existing on the island that's available for events now?
How many can Diamond Head? I think a Diamond Head and Pink Shell, and
I'm not sure of the capacity.
we'll have to get at that information.
We don't want to compete with those private industries. We want to be able to provide a space that is a true community building, that
Well, and
This is
I
for the
think we
public.
also want to have adequate space so we don't encumber financially renting those spaces. So I think if, the island is doing an event for the community, because those spaces are, basically for, out-of-town conferences and so forth, that if we can plan for adequate maximum capacity for that multi-use A and B room, then we don't have to rent those spaces at the
Right.
hotels.
Right,
And that goes back to Allison's comment about the programming, different needs of the campus. We are maximizing everything we can maximize. But also understanding that the more you add, the price continues to go up. It's not in our favor right now.
I think the women's club has a very small capacity, as does the library. Even
They
for that
do.
large community room, I'm not quite certain what that capacity is.
It was 110.
Okay,
Women's Club is very small.
Very
I know what it is,
Yeah.
it's small.
and they
Then the
usually
only-
go by the fire department's maximum occupancy.
Only
I
other
don't know
place
what
that's
that is
anything
for
big
women's.
is Chapel. Chapel has a decent sized, room, but it's all old and,
So that's where the bridge is now. Bridge had to be, I think it's still being offered there because we didn't have room, and there were so many, it's like 110 people that wanted to play, and it had to move off-site.
Is there any other questions about like the overall layout? Like I said, we're trying to, now that the field has stopped moving and that line separating the school board improvements and town stuff, that's kind of defined. pending the execution of all of the documents, but we're pretty close. Is there any bigger picture?
I have one question. I don't cook, so I don't really care. But people have asked me about cooking classes and this kind of thing.
I was thinking the same thing.
And I don't know if we're still planning on using other facilities, because we talked about other places on the beach, or if we're going to try to have it be a real community center where everything is in one spot and we're not going here for this activity and there for this activity.
Which is, I think, our whole point.
Yes,
I think
that's
that's
the
a good
point.
idea.
That's
It's one
correct.
gathering spot.
You mentioned a catering kitchen. Is that like a kitchen, like where you bring in all your catering, or can we make it there? Is there
So,
maybe stoves?
I think initially, conceptually, we had actually wanted a full
Culinary kitchen.
professional culinary
Right.
school kitchen.
Certainly
So it
did.
would have, it would have involved all the commercial ovens, it would have involved all of the space available to actually have cooking classes and have bands.
Right.
Because of the budget, I think it was Roger's recommendation, the city manager's recommendation, that we bring in portable equipment for something in one of the existing rooms for a class of some kind, and then not have it as a permanent dedicated space for cooking. So that, I don't know if that's still on the table?
Yes, that is correct, because,
Okay.
yes, so being able to set up, as you were mentioning, Holly, any kind of classes or something would be used for that multi-purpose B or A. So we're, with the electrical, we're always thinking about to make sure we can set up those things for that. So that is an important phase in the planning to be able to do that. I would like to watch those cook-off shows on the Food Network during the holidays. And, they kind of have those little stations that are kind of stationary. And and I've been like looking at it, and thinking, oh, there's like one oven and they can just, so that's kind of the setup that we're looking for to be able to accommodate. But it would kind of be in that manner that it's not a dedicated space all the time, but that we could easily transform it for that.
Kind of like a plug and play, and then once you start, fire codes is really what dictates a kitchen per se in different tiers, but then having
Hood,
yes, all of that stuff, just the dollar signs,
Yeah.
it's just,
We-
it jumps.
we reached
Well,
out
bet.
to a local caterer that has catered at the Mound House, which we have no kitchen. And then also catered at places like the Burroughs Home, who has some of a kitchen, and other places around Fort Myers. And they really helped us be able to say, okay, if we can't have this, what could we have to be able to provide enough for the amount of people that we may want to serve at any given time? We've tried to do our homework with somebody who's in the field, who actually has done it, to be able to pick out the appliances and the things that we would need in order to be able to.
I think that's great, just so we could do it there still.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
That,
agree with you.
Exactly.
goal is to, yes, to be able to have things there.
And again, it's about the flexibility of each room space and make the most of what, we have. It's very, very defined real estate, and everybody wants, the demands of the whole community trying to fit into this tight area and to accommodate everybody. It's challenging. So,
I think this is
sure.
great because the rooms won't just sit there
yes,
Right.
They won't,
often without being used.
Not wasted space.
So
exactly.
I like the flexibility.
And then one last thing on this, the A102 page, you'll see a press box, and that would be, if we got really official one day and hosted a major league event, have somebody up there calling the games or running the scoreboards, things like that, or even being a mic for an event, an MC.
MC.
Just that space is available there too.
So that's going to be possible, that's now in the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And then a sound system, speakers also now in the plan.
We're putting in the electrical for it. That may be a part of a future phase, but putting the electrical in is the biggest hurdle. But definitely putting in the tie-ins and the opportunity for plug-ins of equipment, that will be in place.
Future use.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have to say, with the property values escalating on this island, such as it is, that our millage rate should be adjusted accordingly so that our amenity that we provide to the community through property tax revenue to properly accommodate this community center as an amenity, providing the things that really all we want. Now, I know the budget's set for this particular phase, but when we're talking about speakers and cooking classes and phase, it's feasible that we can use that revenue for exactly for this. It should be a top agenda for council, I would think. I suspect that getting the building built and getting the idea out there about what this now can bring to the community we never had before may spur that conversation and really support the things that we now don't have on the table.
We'll be educating the public.
Indeed.
I mean, we've had the ideas, and our original plan showed a lot of that, but budgeting and everything that's happened in the last year, things have changed. So I think we've just had to adjust.
Give you an idea of just the market right now. Bid out Bayside Park. There's opinion of probable cost was about between $650,000 and $750,000.
Difference.
Ballpark was his estimate. One singular bid that we received was $1.4 million. And that just kind of gives you the idea of what we're dealing with supply and demand, supply chain issues. Again, that's what we want to be able to, the engineer, I will tell you, looking at this, looking at the materials they're proposing, is there an alternative that's more readily accessible that we can use as an alternative to what was originally on the 30%? So all of these factors are being taken into consideration when we're putting together this plan set and when we're reviewing it, talking to all of our counterparts. It's a challenge all the way around, but again, we want to bring forward a project that's viable and that we can actually build. So to kind of give you some of the challenges.
Not surprising with all escalating costs, so that is obviously a reality.
All the challenges now. Changes.
One other thing too that kind of came up, as you all know, Tico gas line is run up to about Red Coconut on this island. We are looking at trying to get a gas line to this rec center for future use. Something
The
else.
gas line is currently being installed along Acero right by where near the property, right? So
I'm not sure. Last I knew, I haven't been a part of that project in a couple years. I do know that Tico gas lines are up at least to Red Coconut, so we would be able to tap in for the rec.
okay,
Right.
so that's already there. Okay. That was primarily for the Gulf side of the properties, having to do with the restaurants,
We've
right?
reached out to Tico and provided them the plans that we have thus far, and they said it's possible.
What about solar? I mean, are any of the roof sections going to have solar as a way to conserve ongoing costs, operating costs?
We haven't looked at that, but if this committee would like us to look into it, we'd be happy to.
For example, I believe it's either Estero or Bonita, they have a parking area and a covered, sheltered parking area, and that whole roof is solar. I always thought that was such a great idea, and so they did that maybe like 10 years ago. I think solar is far more efficient now in terms of not only the design of the solar system, but the roof systems, but also in terms of how it actually functions. So I'm wondering if maybe the architects had considered it.
A little bit that I do know and that we've discussed of solar is have solar, the energy that it produces gets put back into the grid. It doesn't necessarily directly offset your operational cost. And that's just big picture discussion that we've had for other projects. If this committee would like us to look into it further, we'd be.
Well, and it benefits it benefits Florida Power and Light if that's adding to their grid. So why aren't they providing incentives for public programs like this to offset the costs of roof solar.
So Barbara, I'll check into it. I think it was, I don't think it was, it wasn't, it was LCEC?
Well,
The
that's
co-op?
Lee County
Yeah,
Electric Co-op.
They did that for the Edison and Ford Winter States when I was there, and they did panels to help power the museum. What a power and light? Maybe it was as well.
Wait,
Anyway,
FPL
I'll
FPL's
look
got some
into
sort of
it.
programs going. FPL has some sort of programs
Yeah.
going, because they keep sending emails out.
I'll look into that because I'm pretty sure they did, and of course, it tied in greatly with Edison and his, but they actually, we collaborated with them to provide. So I'll look and see if they've got something similar.
My understanding is it does go back into the grid, but that's the excess. Not the whole thing. Understanding, but I could be wrong.
We had a little fun thing you could see. I was at Edison and Ford that you could tell how much was being captured to be able to power the lights and the AC. I'll see what they have, because that was years ago. But,
Especially the lights for the ball field. I would think that takes a tremendous
man, if
amount
we
of
could get
electricity.
that
Have
would be
solar-powered
sweet.
lights for the ball field alone would be
Are you
worth
kidding
it.
me? That would be that is one of our largest expense right there. Those lights.
Outrageous.
I'll look in FP&L and see, you said they have some,
They send stuff, you know, all those emails they send, and it's like, get it with us for your house. And I just delete them. I don't know. I don't really know what the program is.
okay, I'll see if I still have my contacts they used to have for the programming part.
Thank you, Allison.
Question.
More questions or comments?
Anything else for Chelsea?
Where the lot is, the vacant lot, that's just going to be one way, correct?
Yes.
And then the other sides will be able to go out off of either way. In and out.
Fitness court is that front parcel with some shades. There would be a one-way in, so it'd be pedestrian, a one-way in. Pedestrian, of course.
Our purpose today to provide a consensus or an actual board vote for the approval of the 60% design.
To be able to move forward, yes.
And any feedback. I have made some notes on some questions that
Me too.
you'd like some answers to, so I'll be sure to get that back to you.
Okay.
For your next meeting, I'll go through Allison. But looking for any feedback, like I said, we're as staff, we're still reviewing this, providing comments back to the design team. Like I said before, next step is 90%. We don't really move much past 90%. It's just minor tweaks. So if you have any major comments now would be the time to speak up. So.
Well, and given the fact that, you know, the consulting firm, the engineer firm, the architect, the staff had spent enormous amount of time, you know, getting to this point and understanding what our budget constraints are given our new reality with COVID and supply chain, I don't feel comfortable moving walls necessarily at this point. So just from my personal opinion, I mean, maybe there are some things that could be done, but I don't feel comfortable as an advisory board member to even question the wall placement.
Well, and two, maybe some input that you all may be able to provide is what you see as what could be moved toward a future phase compared to now.
Is there a future phase sheet here on?
Not if on this DRMP page C7.
Yeah.
Anything that we've identified as of right now with the submittal as a proposed is identified as proposed. A proposed future building. Again, like I said, I still have to provide comments back. Allison still has to provide comments back to the engineer as in looking at the price, but we feel that we could push to a future phase being built. Like, could we push the resurfacing the existing tennis courts to a future phase? Look out there. Are they in decent condition? Is that something you get a couple more years out of? Can we push that off? Same thing with that basketball court in the back. As you see on this one compared to the 30%, we've got that maintenance shed back there. That's not something we can afford right now. That could be a future phase.
I have a quick question about the parking in the road. Brought up a second ago on looking at C7 again at Oak and School at the corner right there. looks like that's an out for cars, but then it looks like there's a fence there. Is that line just dedicating the property line, or is that an actual fence?
So, okay, at school in Oak, right now, there's an existing, closed-off parking lot that's dedicated for the school teachers.
Right.
So, there will be a fence, there for them, for their dedicated parking for the school.
Is that the dotted line going into that parking lot?
It looks like
And like
it,
up school if you don't turn?
if you see, if you go up school, there's like a circle in the middle of the road.
Huh?
That would be the fence line.
Okay. But
But
then,
it's a two-way.
like if you hang a left on Oak,
go.
that's not an actual fence there, because it looks like that's
No.
a
Right.
road. Okay.
So the existing playground is going away?
Yes.
Are they leaving that little bitty playground little bitty, or
That-
is that getting expanded at all? It's a big difference between the big playground and then that.
So if you, on the school side, there's three shapes. There's the circle, the square, and then kind of like a rectangle. That kind of oddball rectangle piece would be the pad for a playground,
Big playground.
big playground.
Okay, so they'll keep a playground in the
They
in the
will.
school, okay.
And with the interlocal, we can use it as needed, just like we do now. We share use. And then we'll have a smaller one on our side.
Just curious, what are the other shapes in the circle? Do we know?
Court sports.
Those existing, because there's some pads out there.
The basketball court in the back isn't existing, but we either may tear that up depending on its condition and put a new one or resurface it. The pavilion that's out there now will stay. And of course, we have to make all of this ADA accessible, so we'll make a path connecting all of those court sports to current sidewalk that's out there. Students and teachers will be able to access those court sports and playground on concrete sidewalk.
Round's the pavilion that's there right now, right?
It's kind of
The
shaded.
octagon.
It's by the
Yeah.
circle, but it's a little faded more
Yep, that's
from down.
front pavilion. And
The
then,
playground, anybody can go to during the day?
no.
Oh, okay, that's just for
One
the
on
school.
our side, yes.
One on our side, okay.
Is ours going to be where it is now, under the trees?
Yes. And that will be replaced.
Playground set will be replaced.
Whole set, yes.
About the same size?
We have, because of the trees, we have restrictions. There's like, the limbs can't be but so far from the playground, otherwise kids tend to jump on them. So, we're gonna try to keep it the same size, because it fits. But we'll bring those ideas back to this committee.
No extra like cover over it or anything?
As
School
of right
gonna
now,
be
no.
covered?
Right now, no. What?
Is the school going to be covered?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
school
That's
one said it was
requirement
gonna be
of
covered.
interlocal.
So Holly, to your comment, the school, during school grounds, they have a secured campus, but on certain after hours or weekends, if we want to have, we'll be able to notify them, and I'm pretty sure that was in the agreement, so to be
Yes.
able to use that playground as well.
So like the school provides in July, they're supposed to provide our Parks and Rec director a plan for the year of what they want. In that same discussions, we provide what we would need.
So yeah, so starting September 1, actually, which is Wednesday, in the interlocal, we start having PE at the gymnasium. So from 9 to 2, the rec center will be closed for the PE class to be able to come and meet. All that's in the interlocal, and we start that September 1.
They walk from the school to go
We
there?
do. So each PE class will be able to have it inside. They're so excited. Right now
I
it's
saw
all
that in there, that's
outside.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the kids are excited, we're excited, we're all excited.
Read that whole thing.
It's good.
I'm getting the sense when I'm looking at the school boundary, which is, I think, where that line is with the circles, that's the actual school property, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's also going to have a substantial fence,
Yes. It's required.
required security fence,
State
and then
statute.
there's that gate that kind of goes this way,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my sense is that, as far as our community is concerned, the better way for even us to approach this recreation building area in general is to either come through the Estero entrance as the main entrance or the one off of the Gulf Beach Road. Because for me, this was, I think, a conversation that we had, a year ago where we were looking at how the school sort of is so uninviting because of all of the fencing and the chain link and the security and the, you know, I understand that's necessary for the school, but we want a welcoming environment when we enter. And I think that physical egress going in to not have chain link fences and, you know, moving gates, would, I think, make a big difference in terms of how people want to engage.
The
Whether they
intent,
feel welcome.
Exactly.
And can come through.
the intent of that ingress off of the front parcel is for it to be the main entrance. That
Okay.
doesn't mean we're going to close off School Street or Gulf Beach Road. It's just, if I missed my turn, I have 2 more opportunities to
Right, right.
Right, exactly.
That's good
Okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Bay Road.
So this whole plan is really predicated on the idea that everybody is going to be encouraged to go in through the Astoria Boulevard entrance
Yes, ma'am.
in the very center, okay. And the signage will be appropriately placed so that people know this is the way to enter. And so then that does provide a welcoming look because you have the angled parking right there. Then you have the circle, which I'm sure will be very nicely landscaped. And then you'll see the building straight away.
Exactly.
Okay. Now,
pool loses its existing
you probably
parking.
mentioned this, and I kind of missed it, but the little square area between the roundabout and the building, is that a walkway? That's what you meant?
Where are you?
Those little squares in the center?
Those are trees.
Sorry?
Trees.
Oh, those are trees, okay.
Okay. All right.
Providing shade.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Green
require
area?
to have
And
so
then
much
again, that's
landscape.
again a landscape area.
That's a requirement to make sure that we have the correct number of trees per parcel square footage, so.
And is that a green area?
Well, no, that green, no, that's pavered.
Oh,
palm
okay.
trees.
Oh, that's nice.
Where are
Picnic
they?
out.
Under those, the 2 rows
By
of
the
trees
roundabout.
that you see.
Little
Oh, those
squares,
are pavers, that's not a landscaped area.
be pervious pavers.
Yes.
Where is the landscaped area?
Anywhere that we can fit it.
Where?
We have torn it down for our buildings.
Anywhere we can fit it, honestly. We do have certain landscape requirements that we have to meet, setbacks from property lines, things like that we're looking at, buffers from abutting properties. But then again, you have a parking lot that you don't want to obstruct the view of children running, of other cars coming about, kids on
Exactly.
bikes. So, want to make sure that there's the visibility aspect of it as well. But we will, and part of too, the jot of the school district's property line, is we wanted to try to maintain some of those mature trees that's out there. So, trying to preserve as much as we can.
There are some great trees out there already.
And then too, I hope you realize that, you know, along that back big fence line, there's some trees back there that are invasive. So, I mean, of course, we want to remove any invasive species while we're out there. So we want to make this top notch.
We're taking those out to the extent that we can. The fitness trail, is that where we're looking at the little dotted line all the way around?
So the dotted line, no, ma'am. So the dotted lines is really the jurisdictional boundaries for wetlands. So that is a hard line for us that we cannot put any really improvements. That back dotted line with the circles along it, that is the
Yes.
wetlands line. We will not do any work in that area.
Not beyond that line, but isn't there, so where is the fitness trail?
We don't have, we're working on it. Because of the wetlands boundary,
We had to get that first, yeah,
we
sorry,
have to
Chelsea,
set
yeah.
that first.
A lot of information that they have to get before they can set that trail.
And then we're limited what can be put in the wetlands area, if anything. So again, it's a challenge finding a way to put it in.
Once that information
Oh,
is,
I'm sorry.
It's a fitness trail.
once they get the boundaries and everybody gets together.
Past
Yeah.
Preserve could put a boardwalk through the mangroves. Why can we not have a fitness trail, even if it's like a boardwalk? I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. And we talked about that.
We're
And that's
working
been a
through
part
it.
of it.
Just know we're working through some of those.
It's not been decided yet because of the boundary, but yeah, it's on the list.
Okay.
It will probably be it's gonna be, you know.
It'll probably be a future phase.
Yeah, and be something that, it won't be a boardwalk, that's money. So it would be something like they were talking about, a good surface to walk on, but.
Like you have at the Mound House, that
Right.
kind of surface is really glorious.
Oh, the flex pave?
Is it actually possible to do it later? Is it not something that
It
needs
would
to be
be-
figured out now when
No,
we're figuring everything out?
all the money, correct me if I'm wrong, is going into the building. So,
Majority
and
of it.
just the majority of it, and to be able to do requirements for the school board. So once we meet those, then we'll see what is left over to be able to do those.
Working
Or it
through-
might be a future phase.
Working through DEP and Army Corps, making sure that wetlands, they won't let
That's-
anything
yeah.
in the wetlands.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I'm not talking about like budget-wise, like that part can come later, just figuring out where it goes or whatever.
It was originally around that until everything shifted, and that, I'm telling you, that little shift that was made by the Lee County School Board has really impacted a lot of things, because that loop, Becky, was to go around the ball field. It was to go around.
That's what I'm
and
looking,
so-
there's not.
And so now it doesn't look like we have much space to skirt that, so we'll have to reconfigure how that trail goes. That really, such limited space. We'll figure that out when they get the okay, like Chelsea said, from all the different federal organizations that are involved with those wetlands.
I
There'll be
apologize,
some,
I have to jump out to another meeting. If you do have any questions, please, get them to Allison and
Thank
I
you
will
for
get you
being
an
here,
answer
Chelsea.
back. But any comments that you can provide, good, bad, ugly, we will take them. I appreciate your time with this project. It is major for this island.
You're going to the 10 o'clock that I'm gonna miss?
Yep, that's what they're
Thank
texting
you.
me now.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll catch up with you
I have
on
a
that one
question.
later.
Am I allowed to read a comment somebody put about what's going on here, or is that not allowed?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Sure.
that's- Yes.
Okay.
Certainly.
Somebody said maybe someone should ask the $10 million question, why? We're talking about a baseball field, borrow 10 million, why? What is so wrong with the old baseball field that the corrupt powers may, I mean, I'm just wondering, do we don't need to deal with any of these stupid questions, right?
It's not about a baseball
I mean,
field.
exactly, it's not about a
Moving
baseball
a
field.
to
There's a
make
lot
way
more
for
going
other
on.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the baseball field, well, the reason we're moving it is because of the interlocal agreement with a lot of the land that has actually been deeded to the town of Fort Myers Beach through the agreement that we've worked with the Lee County School Board. So we've tried to make that happen in order to accommodate that for our community.
Someone's hyper-focusing on one thing.
Exactly.
There'll be a lot of people that will not be happy.
Yes.
But if we can, accommodate the majority, that's democracy.
Yeah.
Right, that's all you can do.
Well, it's the same thing for us. We started with one thing, and we've just had to make adjustments. And that's what we're doing, because we want to move this forward. So,
Virtually every decision made by this advisory board over the last 4 years has been, very seldom was it unanimous. There were differences of opinion
oh,
in
yes,
terms of what we needed to focus on. So that if that's the case on an advisory board where we support actively this Bay Oaks, just imagine what the feedback is coming from the general public, and that's going to
of course.
continue.
It looks like you pretty much utilized about every bit of space that you could.
Did.
Something there.
There was a lot of factors. Chelsea has been really the lead on working with the Lee County School Board with all the different parties involved. It has really been quite the process to get all the parties together in agreement for us to be able to get this far. So a lot of behind the scenes things that have happened. And we are just really excited that we see that finish line with them to be able to have that agreement and to be shared use. So that was huge because, we didn't own that land. And now we're able to really move forward with this and to have a great agreement and to have that land swap and have services and good collaborative relations with the school. So we're excited about that.
Well, and I think going in, this was a number of years ago when people like Lee Melsick was on our board, and his concern at the very outset was, wait a minute, who owns this property? And this is
Yes.
the school board, and this is,
Exactly.
and that's never been ironed out. And so I think Lee was absolutely correct in saying, you know, before we do any of this planning, let's find out what that division is. And it's taken, what, 2 years?
Yes.
Number one, for the
Yes.
conversation to be had, which
Yep.
was new.
Yep, yep.
And then for it to, you know, go through all the attorneys and get through with the factions coming to an agreement has taken, which is why this whole project has been delayed for as long.
That's correct, Barbara.
Finally getting that ironed out was really the first step, so we know exactly what property we had control over.
That's where we had to start.
Exactly.
I mean, we needed a beginning. We knew what we wanted. You can only do so much until you know who all those players are. We all had to come together with this. So I think that that's what we've basically done. And I think that the work that has been done is to be commended. My goodness. I mean, because other people had to have also had feelings, maybe they weren't in agreement with everything that we had forth. So
Well, and in a perfect
it's made a
world,
difference.
we would have liked if the school board had said, oh, just, you know, give us all the land, please, you know, school board, you don't
Exactly.
really need it all, you know, 24/7. You do, so give us the land, and oh, by the way, council, we want $15 million, we don't just want
Right.
$5 million. So, you know, this is where the division, has occurred, and it's been painful,
It
really
is.
painful. But we have to look at the reality.
Yep.
I have a question. Coming in on Estero, this drive that we have with the fitness area and the parking, that's where the walkway is right now, right?
Yes, yes. So
We're just expanding that.
yes, so you'll see the empty parcel right now has posts with some chain link, and that is to kind of define our area. So it's the walkway plus that parcel next to it. You'll see, we have a white picket fence on either side of the walkway right now, and then it's the parcel next to it. So that's gonna be the whole space.
Fitness center, the fitness area is that outdoor area we were talking about last time with the concrete.
Fitness court, yes.
And what's the grid thing next to that?
So there is a fitness area, and that grid thing is, we have some shade sails that are gonna go over, with some seating so people can rest. I don't know what that little grid line is.
I think it's
I'll
the
find
shade
out.
thing,
A
Shell
shade thing,
said.
yeah. I think that's what it is too. They didn't have it marked. I'll verify that for you, Becky.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, shade is really important, so where we don't have trees, we're really trying to provide the shade.
Yeah.
Especially, you mentioned the playground, we have the trees, but on the school side, we're providing shade sails for the playground if they that
School
doesn't
playground's
have it.
so hot.
It is, isn't it though? It's just full sun, yeah.
I knew that like the smaller playground with the trees above, and like it's always
Yeah.
dropping stuff on the playground, which is fine. It's just,
I just have a question about the 2 monument signs. What does that actually mean, monument sign?
I'll have to verify that, I don't.
I think that one monument is the one that's there and dedicated to the one,
Okay,
that's
A
there
couple
by
of
Bay Oaks.
monuments, yeah, that
Isn't
we have by the ball fields, I wonder.
oh, okay, so there's 2 of them, right?
Right.
So there's now, those are gonna be moved to this, where they are now, I mean,
I'll verify that. I not really sure what the discussion was on that one, but
hopefully the one at Estero gets a little bigger. Exciting, it's so small, like you can't even,
And is that monument sign for people that do all the grid work? I mean,
I'll find out what that means. I don't know, so I'll bring it back to the committee.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's,
I don't want us to sit here and guess about it. I'll find out. Yeah.
okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, is there anything else we can move to?
do you need any action from the board?
Sure, you can, yes.
So a consensus? Is that what we're looking for?
Mhm.
Okay, do we have a motion for
Do you want a
consensus?
consensus or a vote?
I think at this point, we should probably have a vote, don't you think?
We need to
Or are
approve
we
the
ready for
the
that?
60%? Is that what we need to do?
I think what we can say, because, you know, there's a lot of open-ended questions that
Yes.
Chelsea has to bring back. I would say that, I believe from a consensus have reviewed and discussed all of the 50% design phase plan documents that were presented to us today, and that we agree with the plan moving forward, with the exception of some of the questions that we have.
Okay? Okay. That would be the consensus that we have. Do we need a second on that, or?
Would be a vote.
Not
But
really.
yeah,
I mean, we can
so
just
think you
call a
could say
vote
that
for it.
We all agree, unanimously agree,
Yeah.
that the consensus was, okay.
Okay. Are we in agreement on that consensus?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Do we need a formal vote or just
I think
general
the
vote?
consensus is fine.
Okay.
You have some open-ended questions
Yes?
on that.
Yes.
Barbara, yes? I'm yes? Ally?
Yes.
So we have 5 yeses regarding that we have agreed with, reviewed it and agree, and we are still waiting for some questions to be answered. Does that give them enough to go on?
Yes, Betty, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
So the number 8, I put Friends of Bay Oaks status because I thought maybe Karen would be here. Does anybody have any updates? I just didn't want it to fall off the agenda, but we'll skip right over that. And
And I think I had, well, this was months ago, Karen and I had a phone meeting with regard to next steps. But I do think that because there's been this setback with the school board and the issue of the virus, and our lack of meetings, that there was a little bit of incentive that had been lost as a result. And so I suggest that maybe we delay that conversation such time things are now actively then being, I think timing is a very important issue. So the organization work that Karen is currently needing to do will just have to happen at the right time.
okay, we'll just periodically put that.
Okay, and when Karen comes to our next meeting, might have something else to add to that.
Absolutely.
We can just see, well, can we leave that open on the agenda so that we can at least see if there has been some follow-up on that?
Table it for the next meeting.
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you. We have the department report.
Departmental report, Barbara was asking me about this. This was from July, because we're almost
Right.
finished with August, but not quite. We're still having really good participation, and Barbara's comment was about the pool status. We have had temporarily a closure of the pool for the health department, a violation. We've waited, it's a contractor, a company on contract, and they came yesterday, but we were waiting on repairs in order to have another re-inspection to be able to open again. Fingers crossed that happens tomorrow, so we're really hoping that we have that. But I'll go ahead and address it so that you don't have to wait for another, because it would be in the next month's report. We also are really excited to be able to have several full-time staff join the team, so you'll be definitely hearing about some of the full-time staff members that we have hired, and we're really excited to get fully staffed. So we're hoping to have everybody on board in the next couple of weeks on that. And if you all have any questions about anything particular, I'll be glad. I know we have soccer starting like any day now, so we're going to be having practice there. And we're trying to plan Fright Night for October 22nd. It won't be inside this year. We are doing an outside event to try to just stay safe, because we still are in a very high transition area right now. So we are really hoping to be able to still have a fun event for everybody. So stay tuned with details. Our team is getting their ideas together, and hopefully we'll be able to have a very successful Fright Night, but it will be outside this year.
I think that might be good.
I'm looking forward to
Fun
it.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Turn the lights on?
We're gonna do, they're gonna come up with some really great ideas. So, some of them miss the haunted house that we have, which is really neat, and I understand that, but I still think that they can come up with some really fun stuff. That'll be, the event that we're, currently.
22nd, you said?
Yes, it's gonna be Friday the 22nd. We always try to do it not that weekend or around Halloween, because people have other things. We try not to compete with things that might be going on that, because Halloween is on a weekend. So we're gonna do it on Friday the 22nd. So we'll be releasing details within the next week or so, in the media for people to get excited about it and hopefully come.
Very pleased to see that you're now in the position of looking for a recreation campus manager.
Yes.
And so when did that announcement go out?
We've had that position open. So we've had several positions open. The ones that we have currently filled, we added several full-time because we were so vacant with so many part-time positions. So I was able to take the part-time positions of what they would cost and make them into full-time. So we've added, additional full-time, actually three full-time at the pool and at the rec center. And then our youth and teen coordinator, starts Monday the 30th. And then we'll be, filling the recreation manager position. I need to get my other team members started before that one actually will get.
And that is actually Sarah Mayer's previous
Yes.
position.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long has that been public in terms of Paul, the announcement? A month?
I
A
would
month?
have to
6
check.
weeks?
Yeah, it's been at least several months, I think.
By the way, I love the name Aquatic Center rather than
Yes.
using community pool.
Yep,
So
I
I'm
do
hoping
too.
that, just by
Hoping that
usage.
sticks. Okay,
I saw that
thank
on the
you.
plan and I said, yeah, that's what
I
it should be
like that.
called.
You
The
bet.
Aquatic Center.
It does sound better.
Saw that. I thought that was good too.
Tremendous
Gives it a
amount
very
of work you're
positive.
doing, Allison.
Thank you. The team has just been great, and we are pleased to, be offering things, pickleball, and even though it's not full season, we still have people participate.
Well, the fact that you're doing this in a very challenging time now with this Delta variant, and the fact that, you are so horribly short-staffed, is amazing that you've been able to accomplish this in spite of.
Thank you. The short staffness has not just been me, it's kind of a universal thing right now. So it has been a huge challenge.
Huge.
To be able, but we've really been able, like I said, to have all those part-time and create the full-time with benefits has really helped to be able to do that, because that appeals to a lot more. It's really hope that many places are able to get fully staffed here in the next as soon as possible, because it's a long journey for a lot of people. So
Indeed.
The pickleball's over at the tennis courts, right?
we have pickleball inside, actually right now, the gym. We also have outside courts.
Between 9 to 12, I think I saw, right?
So
Couple
we
of
have
days a week?
pickleball we have pickleball on Thursday and Saturday from 9 to 12.
I think getting a lot of these things out more will be helpful too, because there are a lot of people that are looking for those things, and actually, many people don't even know we have an aquatic center on the beach,
So we have Jenny
let alone the
Dexter.
gym and the facilities.
We have Jenny Dexter, who's our communications, and she puts information out, social media, and then we always keep up our Facebook and our website, both from the town, and she'll highlight things, and then on the pool website, so
I'm always trying to share them.
You do a very good job
appreciate
of that.
that.
In the Observer, for example, there's always the Mound House events. Can we add something like that, like Bay Oaks
We
events?
submit to all the papers, and what they pick up on is, it changes every week.
Yeah, because I know sometimes there's some things and then sometimes.
Exactly. So, because they're not paid ads, it depends, I think, on the layout and how much news they have, maybe, the news press is also that way. So it depends on, like, you submit it
fill
each
something.
week, and then sometimes you're lucky and some.
Do we give them pictures too ever?
Yes, Jenny's always sends press releases with photos. We have a lot of file photos because they love, and it really does help to
Kind of a photo.
Like the Mound House lately hadn't had a photo, but that's okay. You know, it's just gotten smaller and smaller, but it was nice photo and then on one page. So it depends on the layout, but.
I like getting it out more. I know people have been coming to this island for years,
And they still
snowbirds.
don't know.
They had no idea. I don't know if even the different condominiums, the different buildings can post more stuff that goes on at Bay Oaks. I don't know.
A lot of the hotels, or most hotels, have their areas where they have information. All of the places come by and drop off information for what you pay for.
Those are rack cards, and
Right.
actually it's a paid service. So meaning if you don't subscribe to that distribution, you're not allowed to just put your card in there. And it is quite expensive. The Mound House did that with the first arts and attractions, but then they quit paying for print material. So that was an expense that we quit doing because they want all digital now. So it is a service that
I
would
wonder if
love
we
to be
can
able to do if.
chamber.
Yes, we have information. Do you remember those, they were on for doorknobs. This was when Sean was still here. They created those things about the aquatic facility and the recreation center, and you actually put them on your door. They're like for doorknobs. It was a really great idea. So like condos or, so people could learn about the facility. So we distributed those. It's been a couple of years though. I think word of mouth is also really great for you all to keep sharing.
Thank you. All right, well, that moves us to item 10, board member items and reports. And I think we've all kind of expressed ourselves, but let's go around the room, and Beth, I'll start with you.
I have nothing other than I really want to soccer in there too.
Hey, Barbara,
Nothing to report. Great to see everyone.
right?
I don't have anything else
Nothing?
besides what I've mentioned.
Holly?
I like all the ideas that were shared here today, the things that were brought up. I think are really good, and I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be a really great plus for the island and the community. Really awesome and unique. Not a lot of beaches have something like this, so I think it's great.
Well, it's been a long journey that we've had, and we have a long way to go.
Yes.
And I think so long as we keep that open and willing to hear what input powers that be that really are driving this. I mean, we had our ideas, and yet we had to learn from others too. And so it's been a long time, but it's the challenges, the new challenges that we've had in the economy, the health issues, everything. So it hasn't been an easy journey at all. So
Betty, I do have something actually. I
Yes.
take that back if you don't mind.
no, heavens no, please.
Kind of going with that, I obviously I'm new here, and y'all have done a lot of work, and I can appreciate that moving into like what Holly was saying, like a place that our island can go to and people that are visiting. And I feel like sort of at the last meeting we were talking about branching out to different places on the island and trying to utilize their facilities, which is, fine temporarily, but I like that we're having this one central. I think it's very important for our island to have this one central place that people go to instead of having, like a concert here and a ball game there. It's all in one spot for everybody, So I just find that very important, and I can appreciate what y'all are doing, and I appreciate that I'm here, and
Yes, well, we appreciate having you and your input.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Don't see a vast amount of the public, and so we'll just figure out our future meeting date. Normally, we would be meeting first Tuesday of the month. Don't know if that's
2 weeks, huh?
if it's necessary at this time, or if we want to wait another month, because that would be like the 7th of September, which would be our normal meeting time. Pardon?
Getting back to our normal schedule?
Maybe we'll
Okay.
have answers by then. Would it be enough time to get?
I will try to get all the answers. The agenda, has to be out a week from today because that's how fast it has to go. But yeah, we can do that. I don't know that there will be anything on the design, but we can address all the questions you had.
Well, that's the question. If you don't have time to address all, there's no point in our meeting until
Right.
we have all
No.
the answers. So maybe we should look at October first.
It should be October 5th.
I might give more time for Chelsea to get with the school board parts too, right?
Right.
Yeah. You want to do your normal time in October? That'd be the 5th?
Allison, if you decide that there's something that we should meet in September, on
out.
September
Absolutely.
7th, let us know, and
will.
otherwise, we tentatively put it for October 5th at 9 a.m.
I will.
That would be
for
back
sure
to our
reach out.
regular schedule. If we can kind of stay with that first Tuesday of the month, I think it helps all of us in our schedules.
There should be
And,
nothing holding up. It was the interlocal agreement that we were kind of holding on. So now that we're moving forward, I think everything will be able to be smooth.
I don't think that there's been any, and we certainly have not stopped progress. And we had to wait for their answers and to get all the material, so
Exactly.
I think October 5th sounds like a good time. Okay. All right. If there isn't anything further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Okay, Barbara, and Beth, that was your second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 10:32. Very good, thank you all.
Thank you, Betty.
Yeah.